Peace, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. And I have Santos back once again on the show. And today we will be discussing, fear, what fear is, how to overcome it. Because in a sense, fear is such an aspect of life that is intentionally promoted. Because a society a society under fear is much more easier to control than a society that's not afraid, I guess, and yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. But yes, bro, welcome.
Thanks, Ollie. How you going?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. A little tired. Poor sleep last night, but I'm in good spirits.
All right, perfect. So, I feel like the only tool the other side truly has against us is fear, but even fear is only false evidence appearing real, it's like ignorance produces fear, so the answer to fear truly is wisdom, knowledge, understanding. But I guess I would like to know, I guess, what your perception on fear is and what it is, and how to overcome it and things of that nature.
Well, it's a condition. Fear is a condition and it's a limitation. So, whereas love, the opposite is unlimiting. It's unconditioned. Love is unconditioned. When you have unconditional love, that is. So fear is an interesting word. Being a syncretist, I like to look at the letters. I like to rearrange the words, do the lexigram thing and the anagram thing. I like to do the interchangeables as well. So if you realize, which I do always, that R and L are interchangeable, the right and the left, the R and the L, the two universal liquids. When you realize that, then you'll get the word feel. So you feel fear. And then you get the word free. And then you get the word flee, to run away. So for me, there's four words sitting there just superficially for you to enjoy syncretism. And so that would be, if you feel fear, you will not flee and be free. So fear and the letter F, being the sixth letter, have to do with six and sex. And the number six being, like the Star of David type thing, the symbol of creation, sex, nature, procreation, etc. So that's how I see the word fear. But because it's a limitation, when you are in fear mode, everything is limited. Your aspirations are limited. Your desires are limited, because now you don't desire anything. You're afraid. You have to survive. So everything is constricted. Everything is removed from your torus field, your torso field, your aura tora. And then you are powerless. So this is the whole thing. Fear is used as a tool, like you said in the introduction, to make us powerless.
Yes. I also, wanted to jump in. I think it's really interesting, how you brought up the torso, because I am, sitting here thinking how, fear is in a sense the demon of the root chakra, and because in a sense, fear prohibits survival, if you get what I mean, and it's very true. And it's like when people are in fear, they are in survival mode, and it's very true. Like by us being put in this fear state, you're right, we are very limited, because we are only limited to the perceptions of survival. Like when you're afraid, the only thing on your mind is surviving. So you don't particularly go you know, beyond the possibilities. You're in a sense like in this limited, like you said, it's a limit, it's a limitation. I agree with that most definitely.
Well, fear as a reaction is very useful. See, fear can be very useful, but as a practice, you know, to be fearful and as a way of living, this is incorrect. But for instance, fear has saved my life many times. One incident I can relate was exactly 4 months ago. I had a murder attempt. You know, someone came to kill me with a baseball bat and a knife, and another woman that where I was staying. So, and he had the intention. This is a 6'2" guy. He had the intention to murder her, and he was doing that in the moment when I was overwhelmed with fear, because I knew what was happening, and I had to run into the room and had to face the attacker and fight for my life for 10 minutes and survived it. So, and I've been in other situations where that's happened. Fear has actually given me the courage to act and to make things happen. But it's as a reaction, because it's healthy to have fear of being, lacking, fear. It's healthy to be, to have enough fear to look in the mirror every day, so you don't go out and scare people because you haven't fixed your beautiful face. So before you walk out the door, it's that little fear that says, oh, wait a minute, have I cleaned my face? It's the morning, I've got to look nice. I would hate for Mr. Jones to see me so so unkempt or whatever. You you look at yourself and it's not really a fear, but it's a concern. It's an ethic, and that's why the scriptures always use the term to fear God. It doesn't mean how people want to interpret it in their peculiar ways, in a negative, in negative light. It's not that at all. Fearing God is no word is limited to one meaning. I mean, if I heard you playing a beautiful song on your guitar, and I said, "Oh, Solly, that's sick, man," would you say, "Well, sick? Well, with what disease, Santos? Are you calling my song, a disease-ridden song because it's sick?" Well, you understand that sick means it's just the best.
Right.
So the same with fear. I mean, it's not a modern phenomena to flip a word around and invert it so that it has a good and a bad meaning. This has been going on for years. Look at the word, I don't know, terrific. Well, isn't that supposed to be terrible? Oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's terrific. Which one is it? Is it good or is it bad? It's rooted in the same word. Terra, which is the earth, which is Torah, which is the torus field and the torso of your body. Everything that is body is toroidal, hence terra firma, torso, anatomy, all of these are Taurus words, right? So there you go. Words have a lot of wonder in them. They are beautiful. They are gods. And fear is made up of letters, and each letter is a god. And the order of the letters makes the power of that god. So fear is a god because it's a word. And word has the anagram door in it, and door is torus field. And so does the word sword and lord. These are all doors, doorways, portals, torus fields. Tor is door because D and T are interchangeable. So the I forgot where I was going there, but I think it was in relation to words. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So fear, it's a four-letter word. Don't say that four-letter word starting with F.
Oh, since we're, talking about languages and everything, I did, and I'm aware that, you yourself have taken it upon yourself to learn a multitude of languages. I was wondering, what is your perception on the English language in general?
English is the greatest language that ever was in the universe. The greatest. It is the mother of all languages. They try and tell you that English comes from Latin and Greek and Teutonic and Nordic and Germanic and everything like that. No. English is a masterpiece. Read Linda Goodman, the famous astrologer, and read what she had to say about, and I concur with her. English is the language of lexicograms. It is the language of angels, and it is probably the only language which will penetrate all systems of learning better than any other language. I mean, it has 800,000 words to it, whereas the next most prolific language has about 300,000. I think that's, I don't know, it doesn't matter. English has more than twice the amount of words than any other language known to man. So it says a lot. It is very, very expressive. 800,000 words. It's unmatchable, and it's a language where you can connect as they call sister languages to many other languages, most languages, if not all of them. And I deal in languages. I speak 8 languages to different degrees. Greek and Japanese would be the last 7 and 8th language, and they're just really pretty basic. But I read and write those languages. I've been learning them for decades, and I speak the Latin sister, the Romance languages. So I speak all of them except for Romanian. And so what that did was it helped me to understand syncretism in words and how beautiful every word is. Even the ugliest word is the most beautiful. So fear can transcend the lower vibration. And you said it's rooted in the root chakra. Well, it is, because the red chakra is the fear chakra. It has 4 petals. 4 is the number of death. Shi in Japanese. Shinda, to die. That's why they don't use it. They prefer to use, so they will say ichi, ni, san, yon instead of shi, right? So because 4 and its other 4, 13, 1 plus 3, are these unlucky numbers. So red is the longest wave length color that the human eye can capture. So it's fear. It's a long wave and it's a fear wave, you see. So it is rooted. But if you change it around and you see what other words are hiding there, flee, free, feel, and also love, because F and V are interchangeable. Okay, so fear now, the F becomes a V. You see, this is how the universal language of etymology really works. And so now you have love and life. There you go. Feel and fear become life. And fire, there you go, fear. Just replace the vowels, switch them around a bit. The A becomes an I, and you've got fire. The fire of freedom. Everyone has a fire burning in their hearts to be free, to worship our goddess Freya, who is free. Fry of Friday. Astarte, Eve, Isis Mary to the Egyptians. So that's what fear is. So what are you going to make of it? Are you going to transmute it, or are you going to sublimate it, or are you going to not resolve it. And then that fear becomes an entity, and that becomes an egregore, and that becomes a demon. And then you've got a battle on your hands to fight fear demons. You don't want those. And they are created for us already in kindergarten, in school, in church, at work, in families, in all kinds of institutions. Fear, it's insidious and it's ubiquitous. You know, it's now it's something that is the modus operandi. I guess it's the choice of the preference of mode. You know, whereas once upon a time it was love and harmony. You know, harmony was respected. It was practiced. It was not a theory. It was not a subject to chat about, you know, and deliberate about, and how is it possible and how can we achieve it. You just lived it. You see, you can live in harmony. You have to just transmute your fear. Fear will always be there. It has to be, like pain. If there's pain in your stomach, in your body, it's a blessing. It's telling you to look there and see what is wrong.
Yeah.
So that's what. Go on.
I was just gonna say, you know, I think it's really beautiful how you, in a sense, brought up the fact that, you know, everything has like a good and a bad. I always like and try to study, you know, the yin and yang. I feel like it can tell us so much. And, you know, I gotta say, I think it's really interesting how we also brought up fear, in a sense. In the word fear, the word free is also there, because with me, I don't know, I think it was like a week ago I started looking at this word, or like just the energy of fear, you know. And I started, in a sense, facing my fears, you know, because I understand, you know, that most of us, we fear the stuff we don't know, you know, like you fear a bee because you don't know what a bee is, you don't know what it does. You fear this, you fear that, we fear everything we don't know, you know. So in a sense, there was this one point in my life where I was, in a sense, you know, in a sense, I guess you can kind of say being attacked or just messed with by entities, you know, darker entities, and they do tend to have, like, you know, a scary appearance to them. And one of my guides were like that I shouldn't run away from the fear, but rather I should face it, because there's something there for me, you know. So then, rather than being afraid, I decided, you know, to face this fear. And what had happened was, I realized that by me facing this fear, I have, in a sense, for one, expanded, you know, my awareness, because I looked at a place I didn't want to see. But on top of that, you know, I felt more free, because it was like the next day, you know, I was sitting, and I guess you can say energy was more apparent to me. You know, I was more able to perceive like the energy around me. So what I realized was, by me facing this fear, this limitation, I, in a sense, allowed myself to, you know, expand. And I think it's beautiful how, you know, the way you articulated it technically.
Yeah, well, see, you use the word to expand. Well, that's the opposite of a limitation. So a limitation would be Saturnian, satanic, and an expansion would be Jupiterian and productive. So Jupiter's energy is hot and moist, the kind of humors that you need to grow a garden, and Saturn's humors are opposite, cold and dry, the kind of humors that you cannot grow anything in. And it's dark as well, whereas Jupiter is the light. So try and grow stuff in the dark where it's cold and dry, as opposed to in the light where it's hot and moist. So are we going to be satanic, or are we going to be, I suppose we could call it enlightened? Christian is the other word that is used. Christianity just means enlightenment, whereas but the Saturnian energy is also enlightening. It's just a different kind of enlightenment, and so I'm not making polarizations here, you know, that are going to be other than you know, mental aids for us to understand how fear can go from love, which we already saw. It's the word love, because of the law of interchangeables, So fear is love, if you know the etymology as it's supposed to be taught. And so by transmuting that, we can expand. And what you're looking to expand is your qualities and your gifts and your talents. Each one of us incarnates with a certain amount of mental force, physical force, emotional force, soul force, and everyone is different. Some people are born, they incarnate with very little physical force, so they're always at home and they're very weak, and they always get the flu, and they can't stress themselves too much or overexert themselves. Some come with beautiful bodies and beautiful form, and they are the muscliest athletes, and they're always getting the first prize in football, and they're just beautiful physical specimens. But that doesn't mean that they've got all the other forces. They might have a very, very weak soul force, and they might actually be, in fact, nasty criminals with beautiful bodies. So these discrepancies also happen. But the idea is to expand everything, your health, physically as well, regardless of how you were born, with very little physical force or whether you have a lot of soul force. You still have the onerous ethical duty to grow those and make them more than what you were given, what you incarnated with. And this is in line with the parable of the king and the servants, where certain talents were given in the scriptures, 1 talent, 2, and 5. And then the king went away. He gave his 3 servants different talents. And in fact, talent is the correct word because it transfers over into a physical gift, a talent that one might have. So if you have a certain amount of love in your life, are you going to grow that, or are you going to diminish it? They say by exercising your mind, you make your memory more powerful and you make your mind more powerful. It's the same with everything, all your muscles, So the more we exercise our love and make it grow and expand, the more now we have improved our lot. We've evolved. And this would be akin to an analogy I like to make is a computer. There are 3 parts to the computer, which I liken to spirit, soul, and body: the file, the RAM, and the screen. So the file is where the spirit is. The spirit is spiritual because it's not physical. All the files in your computer are quote unquote spiritual. They are, spirit means air, and what is in the air is not visible. So they are invisible. They're zeros and ones. So you might have a hard drive full of 100 gigabyte of data and another one that is empty. Same hard drive, they weigh the same. Because all of that information, almost infinite information stored on this hard drive is not spatial and it's not temporal. So, but it's there. It's there in energy, in the transcendence, in counter space. It can't be in space, because if it were in space, it would be heavier. Oh, hell, this drive is full, I can tell. It must be like 150 gig in this drive. No, it doesn't weigh anything. So, and that's the same with your spirit. Whereas the soul does weigh a little bit. And so the soul and the body, of course, weighs a lot because it's a different mass.
Yeah,
and so
can I say something about the spirit again? So the spirit, as you're saying, is ultimately, connected to the air element, technically, right? There's this really good analogy I remember hearing, and this person, they were in a sense referring or connecting, like in a sense, the soul to an ocean, and then the spirits, you know, in a sense, to the animals, fishes within the ocean, in the sense that the soul, I want to say to a degree, kind of just is, but it's like the spirits within the ocean, the spirits within the soul that, you know, predict how it expresses itself. And I feel like that kind of really connects with what you're saying, you know, concerning the spirits being files and things of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, so the ocean would be the field, which is God, and we all are that. But we have been individuated like a drop of water from the ocean. It's the same substance qualitatively, but not quantitatively. It's a unit, and we are units. Unit is atum. It's another way of saying atum. We are units of God, divine, of divinity. We are divine, we are God, and we are different to God at the same time. So that spirit that we have, it is in counter space, and it is what communicates with the soul, which is the ram. The ram is delivering from the spiritual realm onto our screen, which is our body, the theatre, like the computer does, and makes things appear real. And so the file, the spirit, the ram, the soul, and ram in Rama, Sri Ram, in Sanskrit means soul, and Radharani, soul. So it's quite interesting that ram in your computer is analogous to soul, and Rama means soul. And then the screen is the body, where things, oh, look at that. Those zeros and ones have made something, you know, quite tangible almost, you know, quite appearing real. But it's not. And the same is with the incarnations we have. When you reboot your computer, it's the same as a reincarnation, reboot. And then when you die, you go back to the file. But if the file is kept pure and uncorrupted by loose living, and you improve your lot in life, well, then every day the file is improved upon. If you're writing a book and you open that file every day to improve on that biography, or whatever book you're making, in the end, you will have something to show for it if you continue improving. But if one day you accidentally hit the wrong button and wipe everything off, or you know, accidentally do something very, very wrong with your body to wipe out your soul's hard work, when you die, well, you won't have access to that information and you'll be starting again, which means you could be repeating in the lower realms of the hellish planes your whole existence again, all over. So when you incarnate, that's time to get busy doing good deeds of expansion and not fearing and being limited. Oh, as the proverbs say, oh, perhaps there will be a lion in the place, in the plaza today, so I won't go out. Well, that's the man who sits in his home and goes, oh, perhaps a train will run over me, or perhaps a 16-ton block of steel will fall out of the sky, a la Monty Python, and squash me. I'll stay at home. You see, if you start thinking all the things that could happen to you, oh, someone got hit by a car yesterday, that might happen to me today. You see all of these fears and, oh, let's limit. No, that's not how life works.
You know, I noticed you brought up, in a sense, death to a degree. You know, I also, you know, I guess want to understand or see your perception on death, because I feel like, you know, this is one of the most limiting. It's one of the most limiting fears. You know, everyone is afraid to die. You know, like, you know, me personally, I've actually died before, and you know, I share my story on my YouTube channel, my near-death experience. But I really feel like through going to that near-death experience, it really showed me and taught me what life is. You know, there's this saying, you truly don't live until you die, you know. And I think this is really true, because a lot of people are so limited by this belief of dying, by this fear of dying, that they truly don't live, you know. But I guess I just wanted your your perception on that, you know, death.
Well, this is very good, but this kind of dying is very rare. You are blessed with that experience. People who have near-death experiences, they don't realize how blessed they are. But there's a different kind of dying that should be practiced. It's the dying to this world. You see, people take scriptures very literally. To circumcise, to be circumcised, for instance, in the scriptures, doesn't mean literally to snip parts of your body off that was made perfectly. It's talking about circumcision means to peel away the veil of ignorance of your physical eyes, the physical eyes, and that is analogous to your spiritual eyes, and then you will be circumcised of heart. So the death that I've experienced, this death, not only in the incident that happened 4 months ago, where I survived and the other guy did not, unfortunately, but the death that I have experienced is the death to this world. I have put to death the ambitions in my heart for this world. I care not for their riches. I don't want their swimming pools and tennis courts and helicopters and mansions. I don't want their property. I don't want anything from this world. It doesn't turn me on. It never has and never will. Because I'm a mystic. I'm a philosopher. I'm not going to be interested in Ferraris and tennis courts and stature and all of this hocus pocus. I'm not going to waste a life. You know, I'm going to devote it to the gods. I'm going to devote it to wisdom. I'm going to know everything. I'm not going to own everything. I will be the knower of everything. I already do. Not right now, linearly, but in a non-linear way, I know everything. I know all there is to know, and I have the ways and the keys and the keys to access the knowledge of the all at any time. And so to have that experience of death, which I had too, in a way, you could say, for 15 minutes fighting for my life, hand-to-hand combat, a knife and a baseball bat was produced on me, and I struggled with the aid of the angels and survived it. So, but the death that is more significant to me is how I have put to death all of the things that everybody else in the world is so seeking and aspiring to have. They want their double-story house with a swimming pool and a tennis court and perhaps a helicopter and a bank account in Switzerland, and they want these things, you know. Whereas when you are like me and you are born in this spiritual body, you only desire the knowledge that leads to everlasting life, and you get it. And it blesses you. It blesses you infinitely and eternally, time and space. Infinitely in space and eternally in time. That's the blessings each time that you devote yourself to syncretism and to truth and to mysticism. Whereas each time they of the world go out to chase after the wind and buy and sell and eat and drink until the flood comes and sweeps them all away, as has been done many times in the history of the universe, and which will happen soon, right before our eyes in real time, only months away, when you will see hordes of human beings who just are not acceptable to the new world that is coming, and they will be taken to another world where they have to go around in circles again and again and again till they get it. Whereas we are flying off this loop of addictions and vices and anything goes practice of debauchery and degeneracy. You know, we are pure of heart. Our intentions are pure, and they are to love, to have love and truth between us in our community, respect, dignity.
Yeah, yes, I like, well, I guess I'll go back to what you said earlier, about the ones who aspire and desire to be of this physical world, in a sense, everyone who strives to attain all of these physical wants and needs, I feel like, for one, in a sense, it does root from a place of isolation or loneliness, because I really feel like once you realize, like I did, that you are everything, then you start to understand that you already have everything, in the sense that also you, like what you said earlier about knowing everything, this is fact. Like, you never really learn something new. You just reminded, you just remember. But I guess I also wanted to bring up, Satanism and Luciferianism, because, I am aware that, Lu- Lucifer means the bearer of light, and light, in a sense, is connected to truth, And Satanism comes from the word Saturn, and, Saturn deals with the physical realm, physicality, and everything like that. So it's funny to me because, most of the people whom are striving materialism, or in a sense practicing Satanism, but they just don't understand it. But these are all, in a sense, just words. They're not to be feared, but understood. But I guess, I don't know, I just wanted to add that, I guess.
Yeah, well, Satan is the night and Lucifer is the day. Day comes from deus, God. So you have the day, the god of day, the sun. You have the god of night, Saturn. The sun exalts in Aries, which is from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. And Saturn exalts in Libra, which is opposite, which is from 6 p.m. sunset, Saturn set, every day to 8 p.m. every day. So in the morning, Lucifer, light bringer, the sun, teaches you to open your eyes and not stumble as you walk. So it is your teacher. But on the other hand, it is your deceiver. Lucifer is a deceiver because your eyes now believe that everything is real and stable. And it's not. It's not everlasting. Not the material world. It is not. The material worlds were never made to be everlasting. The transcendental worlds are everlasting. So your eyes, trained by Lucifer, are deceiving you. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Luke Skywalker. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew is Saturn. Mark is Mars. Luke is Lucifer, the sun. And John is Jupiter, the four Gospels. So Saturn, on the other hand, is an out-and-out deceiver, the dark. Every time you walk in the dark, you hurt yourself, you fall over, and you die. You were deceived because you thought, I can walk here. Donk, and you fell over and got killed. Thank you, Satan. But Satan is also your good teacher. Because when you can't see and there's activity and birds flying around and you can build homes and do some work, you're restricted. So you go within. Your eyes can't see anything out there. There's no sun. So you start seeing with this eye. Ah, yes, I remember when my child was 3 years old and he said this and that. Oh yeah, now I know what that means. I see. And see, so Satan is now teaching you, as Lucifer did, protecting your step during the day. Satan now protects your spirit during the day so that you see with this eye and work it out. So they are both our teachers and our deceivers. And I think I've only got about another few minutes, brother. So
I think, I guess this will be like, the last question I ask you. But I just, wanted to see your side of, or like, what is the connection, between Saturn and the moon? Like, how do you perceive that? Saturn and the moon.
the moon is the womb of the universe. Saturn is the tomb of the universe. Saturn, to turn, Elohim, El in Hebrew means twister and turner. So Saturn and Jupiter's field, Jupiter, the two daddy and son, they are, in a sense, Saturn is the tomb. Saturn is Aton, Aton is Atum, autumn, and the tomb of winter. The autumn leads to the tomb of winter. 21st of December, St. Tom's Day, St. Thomas's Day. So you go to Hell and Tommy when you go from autumn all the way down, or tomb, to the tomb of winter, and bang, the solstice, 21st of December, St. Tom's Day. Opposite Cancer, which is Tammuz in the Jewish system. The sign of Cancer, Tammuz, that's Thomas, the tomb. So the womb are the ovaries of the solar system. Saturn is the tomb. That's where you die. That's where you leave incarnation forever. The moon is where you come into incarnation. She's the ovaries and the womb. And the earth, well, actually the earth is the womb as well. It's where we are born onto. It's the docks, really. That's why the doctor is there to receive you as you are birthed, like a ship to be birthed, born on this plane. And we are now vessels in commerce, vessels on the land, and we are what's the word I'm looking for? So the vessels, and we have doctors doctoring things in our path from the moment we are born. So that's the moon and the earth. And so the earth provides the soul to come through, and the moon, and the earth provides the encasing for the soul, which is the body, which looks like the soul. Hence, Virgil, the eyes are the windows to the soul, and the countenance, or in other words, the countenance of the body, the physical look, is the fancy, I'm not getting the word. Anyway, the eyes are the windows to the soul, and the countenance is the windows to the mind. I think that's the quote. Don't quote me on that. Check it out. It's Virgil yeah. Anyway, so when you have a body, you have a body which is like your soul. That's why an animal comes from the word anima, which is soul, animale. So you are an animal with a soul. That's because your body, your animal, is a anima, a soul. Alrighty, thanks, Soli. Speaking of souls, pardon the pun.
Yeah, thank you too, Santos. This has been a really, really great, talk. And as always, we did go pretty deep, deeper than I expected, But yes, you guys do definitely make sure to subscribe to Santos's channel, as he produces great content, and he has already produced a plethora of great content, and yes, thank you for watching. And as I always say, namaste and have a blessed day.